Good morning. My name is Gene Chan, hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works. Cerise Waiters is the clerk for today's hearing. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterwards through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website at sfpublicworks.org. Because this is a virtual hearing, there is no sign-in sheet. If you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the address listed on the hearing notice. This public hearing is being held to consider the following items. Order number 300227 to consider the removal of one permitted landscaping area without replacement adjacent to 178 27th Avenue. Order number 300228 to consider the removal of two significant trees with one replacement adjacent to 2390 Bush Street. Order number 300229 to consider the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 595 Oak Street. Order number 300230 to consider the removal of five significant trees without replacement and four street trees with replacement adjacent to 880 and 860 McAllister Street. Right now, I'd like to note that this order number for 880 and 860 McAllister Street is being postponed. So if you are here at this hearing to speak on this, it's being postponed. You may submit your testimony in writing, and then we'll hand it over to the next hearing officer at the next hearing. And the last order on the agenda is order number 300231 to consider the removal of one significant tree without replacement at 1511 Lion Street. My role as a hearing officer is to gather the facts for each hearing item, listen to your testimony, and help our Director of Public Works make a determination. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings and my recommendations to the director, who will make the final determination. When the director's determinations are made, the department will notify parties interested where contact information has been provided. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will first ask Public Works staff to present the case. There's no time limit for this presentation. Next, the property owner or applicant may speak. Then any member of the public or witness who wants to speak will be given an opportunity. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time and will indicate when 30 seconds remain. If you are a party to this proceeding, I will call on you to speak. If you intend to use visual materials, please let us know before you begin. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. If you're a member of the public, please wait until I call for public comments. To be placed in the queue during public comments, you may use Zoom's raise hand feature or dialing *9 if you're dialing by phone. I will call on the speakers in the queue. If you are on the phone and muted, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you plan to use visual materials, please let me know before you're speaking. Comments and questions should not be addressed to the department or to the applicant. If you cannot complete your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony by noon today. After all comments are completed, I will close the item. We'll now begin the hearing. At this time, we will open the hearing for general public comments. Members of the public may make comments on matters within the department's jurisdiction that are not on today's agenda. Are there any public comments at this time? Okay.
I see no
Seeing
hands.
none, I will close the public comments. item and move on to the first item on the agenda. Order number 300227. May Public Works present the case?
Yeah, let me just share my screen.
Thank you.
Y'all can see that?
Yes.
Yes. Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Allegra Mountainer. I am an urban forestry inspector for the City of San Francisco Bureau of Urban Forestry, the Department of Public Works. I will be presenting on behalf of the Bureau today regarding the street trees in this hearing. So today we are reviewing the tree removal hearing, August 5th, 2026. So our number one goal as the department is to ensure safe, clean, and green infrastructure and the public right of way. BUF's mission, the Bureau of Urban Forestry's mission, is to preserve and grow the urban forest while balancing the safety and needs of a growing and evolving city. So in 2016, a ballot measure passed that transferred the responsibility for maintaining street trees and repairing tree-related sidewalks damaged from property we repairing the tree-related sidewalks damaged from property owners to the city. The passing of this measure created Street Tree SF, which is the citywide street tree maintenance program managed by San Francisco Public Works. It's a $19 million set aside that grows annually with the budget, so it's a little closer to $21 million a year now. And this funds Street Tree SF on an annual basis. In preparation for Street Tree SF, a tree census was completed that inventoried and addressed the condition of approximately 125,000 street trees. This census data is being used to populate a routine proactive tree pruning schedule for the city's nearly 125,000 street trees. The data has allowed us to prioritize areas of the city where the need for tree maintenance is highest, allowing us to allocate resources to those areas first, the red squares. And it is important to note that safety is our number one criteria when prioritizing trees and areas for maintenance. Our goal is to ensure everyone's safety in the public right of way. Once the street tree SF ramp up is complete and all street trees in San Francisco have been serviced, a schedule will be established where trees will be pruned on a 3 to 5 year pruning cycle based on the species and needs of each individual tree. We hope to be wrapping this first cycle of pruning this year, and we've already begun prioritizing areas for pruning and creating contracts to do the second round of pruning. So in San Francisco, a tree ordinance establishes the authorization and standards for addressing a wide range of issues regarding trees. San Francisco's urban forestry ordinance is codified under Article 16 of the Public Works Code. So the Article 16 urban forestry ordinance, we have a removal permit is required to remove street trees, significant trees, and landmark trees in San Francisco. Important updates from February 2022 include if a department is removing a tree, a replacement is required within 120 days or added and tracked on a delayed replacement tree report. If the tree cannot be planted in situ, then it must be replanted at a nearby location. If the property owner or applicant is granted a removal permit for removal of a healthy tree, the department shall require a replacement street tree of equivalent value to the one removed or impose an in lieu fee. So an example is an owner pays the difference between the appraised value of the subject tree minus the value of the replacement tree. The value of the replacement tree is based on the standard in lieu fee for a 24-inch box or installation replacement size. In most cases, a tree removal permit will not be granted if the tree is healthy and structurally sound. So we have several tree removal criteria, which include dead, dying, or not thriving, a poor species for a location and the growth is no longer sustainable in that location, damage or increasing damage to private property, or the tree is hazardous. If a tree is small, less than 4 inches in diameter, and construction requires removal, the tree can be replaced in kind. Otherwise, if a tree is destabilized by construction and there's no feasible workaround, the applicant must provide, so in these cases, the applicant must provide sufficient supporting documentation. Or if the tree is in good or fair condition, the applicant must pay the appraised value for the loss of the tree. If a removal permit is granted, property owner is required to plant a replacement and pay the difference between the appraised value and the new site based on the in lieu fee structure. If a tree site is to be lost and the tree is in good condition, the appraised value or an in lieu fee will be assessed, whichever is greater. An example of when the site will be lost is the tree is approved for a new driveway, and of course, a new tree cannot be planted in that driveway. If a street tree removal is being done by the Bureau, we must plant a replacement tree or relocate a replacement site and mark it as a delayed replacement. If the removal permit is being granted to a property owner for a removal of a dead, dying, or hazardous street tree, the tree is required to be replaced. If there's not sufficient space, then no in lieu fee will be assessed, and the property owner is not required to replace it off-site. So I'm going to go over a couple common defects in street trees so we can understand some of the language later in the presentation, and why, certain items that we recognize on a tree are dangerous. So poor taper of a tree with basal defects such as girdling roots or girdling infrastructure, bricks, sidewalk, cement, concrete, that sort of thing, or root decay at the base, and large stems with poor unions. For example, included bark, or a narrow angle of attachment where the branch actually attaches to the tree. So this is an example of poor taper of a trunk with girdling roots and infrastructure. This tree was not the one that failed, but it had a very similar base as the one that had failed right next to it. So these two trees were right next to each other, and this one had just failed. And it had this kind of girdling bricks. You can see these bricks here. This is what was happening over here. It girdles the base of the tree, and the roots are not able to stabilize properly. And the tree, we had a whole tree failure on top of a muni bus, which disrupted service as well as was dangerous to any pedestrians walking nearby. So this is an example of those large stems with poor unions, which have included bark or a narrow angle of attachment. We can see here that the branch had failed. It was very upright, and it had this very narrow angle of attachment, which is exampled in these other areas as well. And you can see that the branch just could not support itself anymore. And unfortunately, it damaged the awning over here, and luckily there was no one nearby, and it didn't land on any vehicles either. And this just failed not during a storm, it was just during a normal day in the spring. There was no strong winds or anything of that sort. It was just the weight of the tree while it was growing just split the union. So on to our first order, order number 30227, 178 27th Avenue, to consider the removal of one permitted landscape area without replacement adjacent to 178 27th Avenue. Staff denied the removal, as is typical, and the applicant appealed. So at this location, we approved a permitted landscape in the past, and the size of the landscape is 177 square feet, the sum of the three landscapes. So we can see that we have one landscape here, and then one large landscape against the property line as well. And this landscape is broken up into two sections, one that is 4 feet and one that is 17 feet across. And that was what was installed. So the landscape is in good condition. There are no major deficiencies in the landscape, and then the reason that the appellant is applying for removal is that there's a building permit application which is pending to install a new driveway and a garage. We did issue that original permit 778320 in 2016, and that was the landscape that was installed here. This is the current condition of the landscape. As you can see, the landscape goes all the way across. It meets all of our standards. We have the 2-foot courtesy strip and a 4-foot accessible path from the parking area. We also can see that on the back side of the sidewalk, there's no incursions into the sidewalk, which would limit people's ability to pass. This is another view of the landscape so that you can see the full front part of the landscape. This tree will be retained during the project. So this is the proposed plan set for the building project. They will be adding a new basement level garage and then a new driveway. So this will be where the curb cut goes. So the entire landscape won't be removed. It will be just a portion of the landscape, which is between which is where the driveway for the garage is going through. So the remaining tree, which was shown in the previous picture, Washington hawthorn, can be protected throughout the project if the recommendations are followed. These are the recommendations that were put forth in the arborist report that was submitted along with the building project. And we don't have to go through each of the things, but essentially the tree is very much expected to survive. There don't seem to be any impacts to the tree or the tree roots that are unrecoverable by the project. So the mitigations, if the sidewalk is approved, the sidewalk landscape is approved for removal, the section of sidewalk landscape which is being proposed, the appraised value of the sidewalk landscaping space is less than the standard tree in lieu fee. So the loss will be a little bit less than 75 square feet of landscape, which is what we equate to our standard in lieu fee of $2,646. And so this would be the recommendation for the replacement value of the lost landscape. And that ends the staff portion of the presentation.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Allegra, do we know if the applicant or the property owner is here to speak on
Yes,
this?
they should be here. Can you raise your hand, please, so I can grab you and bring you to the panelist side? Or did you want me to share your presentation for you? Did you prefer for me to share it, or would you like to come over as a panelist?
No, I'm happy to present. This is Kent David. Sorry,
Okay.
a little bit
So
of technical difficulty. So I'm ready to present when you are.
okay. So I'm going to bring you over as a panelist, and then you'll need to unmute yourself again once you come over.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can hear me now. Let me start my presentation and share that. Let's see. Okay, I don't think, I'm sorry, let's see.
That's okay. There should be a button that says share, and then you will be able to share screen.
Yeah, this in the wrong order. Okay, share. Share. Yes. No, that's the wrong button. Just video. No. Share. Okay, got it. Uh, PowerPoint. Okay. It's not going to let me share. Can you bring up my presentation?
Sure,
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
that's no problem. Just a moment. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay. Okay, so once you begin, let me know when you're ready. I will start the timer, and you have others that want to speak as well, correct? Or no?
Y yes, my wife would also like this. Possibly, probably not.
Okay, so go ahead. I'll start the timer for 3 minutes when you begin.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So the basic facts we've already heard from the department. What we're looking to do is remove the outlined planting as described previously. As the site is currently, it is not sustainable. Um, and furthermore, the repairs of the house and the construction is urgently needed to bring the house up to current standards. Repairs of the foundation are drastically needed in order to maintain the property. If you can move to the next slide, please. So this is the same general plot that we just saw from the department. And we have nothing really further to add here other than that the planned project aligns the city's energy efficiency, fire, and earthquake safety goals, and as we already heard, protects the existing street tree for which the tree protection plan has already been approved. The post-construction landscaped area will feature larger planted areas than other houses on the block. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a broader view of the landscaping nature in our neighborhood. As you can see, this is our neighbor to the north, neighbor to the south, neighbor across the street, and then another property further down the block. In the attachment to this presentation, we've shown a street view picture of every property. But what you see here are just driveways. There was discussion in the correspondence with the Bureau of Urban Forestry describing development agreements in this area not being renegotiated this time. We believe that's an error. Our house is in the outer Richmond. That's the blue square is our lot. We're not aware of any development agreements associated with this block. And we think that Sea Cliff, a master planned residence park nearby, may have had such agreements. Next slide, please. This is a picture of the development plan in Sea Cliff, and you can see they have a much different front and they have driveway access through the back. Next slide, please. So the approval for a requested permit is necessary so that we can move forward with the needed upgrades to the house. Our property has no rear alley, so there's no way to perform any of the work or provide the driveway access to the house without this requested change. And the property post-construction will be consistent with the character
30
of the
seconds.
neighborhood adjacent, of the adjacent neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to public comments right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did your wife want to speak as well?
Thanks. I think we've said it all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Josh?
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, it took me a minute to figure out we weren't talking about a tree removal, that we were talking about, I guess, a sidewalk garden removal for the driveway. I think that's what we're talking about. If so, this is the first time I've heard about that. I've heard anything like this in a tree removal hearing in the many years I've been attending. So I think that's what we're talking about here. Um, My only question, I guess, for the Bureau, and obviously this doesn't need to be a conversation because that's not what public comment is about, but um, it does seem that this is removing currently permeable surface. And what I am curious about, since it does seem that the Bureau of Urban Forestry is responsible for granting or denying permits regarding sidewalk gardens, how does the Bureau balance that assessment against the city's 2021 and 2026 climate action plans, which call for a reduction in impermeable surfaces and an increase in permeable surfaces as part of our climate strategy for our city. So I'm just throwing that out there for the Bureau of Urban Forestry to consider. I'm not necessarily one way or another about this particular case. It's just that this is novel in a tree removal hearing, and so it's not something I've heard about, and I'm not sure how the Bureau addresses that. Thanks.
Thanks, Josh. Any other comments? Okay. Allegra, I had a question.
Did you want me to answer to that question or?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So as I stated at the beginning of the order, it is typical for us to deny all sidewalk land requests for sidewalk landscape removal, because it's not really about the condition of the landscape, because the way that our landscape permits work is that the permit is for the permeable area and the quality of the material that's in the landscape. Someone can remove the landscaped material as long as it's replaced in kind. There's no fine or citation associated with removal of the landscaped material as long as it's replaced in kind. So if someone wanted to like redo their sidewalk landscape and replant with all native plants, for example, that's totally acceptable. If there was plant material there before, there needs to be plant material there again, once the change has been made. So in this case, the foundation repairs can certainly be done without removing the landscape entirely, and we would be perfectly happy with the property owners removing the landscape materials in order to complete the necessary foundation work and then replacing in kind. The main issue here is the driveway that's being installed over the area, which then cannot replace the landscaped materials in that location. And so that's why the denial is given. We do not deny the removal of landscape materials within the permitted landscaped area. It's the non-replacement that we're denying. And so it doesn't happen very frequently that people will be removing sidewalk landscapes. And in most cases, what we end up seeing is that people will remove the landscaped area and then you maybe pave over, and then we cite that, but give people the opportunity to replace in kind before issuing a formal citation. We would reach out to the property owner. So in this case, they're doing that ahead of time to see if it's acceptable to remove the landscape material and not replace. We don't get it very often, and like I said, when we do deny it. So I don't know if that answers your.
That was my question as well from the beginning. Thank you. All right. I don't see any other hands up for public comment. So I will now close the item and for my findings and recommendation to the director. Next item on the agenda is order 300228. Allegra, can you present the case?
There we go. We have order number 300-228-2390 Bush Street. This is to consider the removal of 2 significant trees with replacement of 1 tree at 2390 Bush Street. Staff approved the removals and the public has protested. So these are 2 subject trees. This is 2390 Bush Street under permit 807070. We have the Prunus cerasifera, purpleleaf plum, and the Juniperus chinensis, the Hollywood juniper. The tree height is approximately 15 feet. They qualify as significant for different reasons. The prunus is at least 15 feet wide in the canopy, and the juniper is at least 12 inches in diameter of the trunk. The conditions vary. The juniper is in good condition. These photos were taken during peak leaf out of the tree. So as you can see, the prunus, the purple leaf plant, is in fairly poor condition, with about half the canopy in decline, which is typical of the species at this age. They don't last very long. You can see some cracking in the stem, and which indicates sloughing of the bark, or peeling of the bark. It's starting to sprout at the base, which is a stress response to try and kind of recover. But these are the sprouts from the below the graft, and are kind of taking energy from the remainder of the tree. So the reason that the applicant applied for removal of the tree is that a sewer lateral connection is at the current tree location, and trenching for the sewer lateral placement will destabilize both trees. Is expected to destabilize both trees. The sewer cannot be rerouted, unfortunately, due to connection from the lateral to the property, meaning at the tree location. So the tree is appraised for a combined total of $8,400, with one replacement. The remaining in lieu fee will be $5,754. So this is where the sewer lateral is being intended to be trenched for. As you can see, it goes directly between both trees, and the trenching will be fairly large due to the size of the building. And so again, here we see this is about where the trenching will be occurring. Oops.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Gary?
Yes, this is Gary Price. I'm the administrator of St. Dominic's Church. I have with us two of our design engineers and the project manager from Plant Construction who's leading the project. And as Allegra said, the purpose of the request is to enable a complete plumbing renovation of our project. Sean Holman is one of our engineers, and he'll be the one sharing the slides. I'll be the first speaker, but Sean will share.
Okay, just one moment. I will bring you over as panelists. Once you come over, you do need to unmute yourself again.
I'm muted. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. I'm going to select the screen now.
Okay. Okay, and then once you begin speaking, then I'll begin the timer. You will each have 3 minutes.
Okay, so Gary will start speaking. I'm going to
Okay.
pick it up after him, and then we're going to have Dave speak as well, all from the same slide deck.
Okay.
All right, let's move to the next slide. St. Dominic's Church is a business address is 2390 Bush Street. The property that's affected is on the Bush Street side of the church. St. Dominic's is an enormous building, occupying almost a third of the city block. And let's move to the next slide, since Allegra's already pointed out which two trees are affected. We're doing an entire plumbing renovation of the plumbing in our 100-year-old church. And the reason is that for more than 10 years, due to undersized and problematic plumbing, we've had significant plumbing problems during rainy seasons. And what happens is we have intermixed sewage and rainwater from the roof of the church, all going through very undersized lines. And so it pops up through cleanouts, it pops up through floor drains in the laundry room. It'll even pop up through the toilets. And then we have 4 inches of sewage water in all of our common areas of the church. all of the community rooms, the kitchen for food service for our parish events, where we store food, where we have laundry service, the choir room where our choirs rehearse. All of these rooms are continuously flooded several times a season. And there's really no way to mitigate the contamination of the sewage water. I mean, we pump and we can snake out the lines and we can squeegee all the water out of the building, but then it takes 2 days to dry out. We disinfect, but you can't really disinfect the sewage water that gets under the baseboards and underneath our fixtures and into the cracks in the floor. And so the whole area is really impossibly contaminated. And so we ask for professional plumbing engineers to redesign our entire system. And we have a multi-million-dollar project that started in April to do a complete renovation. And that's what we're doing. Next slide. This is a top-down view of just the perimeter of the church. All the areas in blue are all the areas of the common part of the building below that are flooded when we have these events. And then the engineers will explain why the pathway that we're taking is the one pathway that we have to the sewer. And now I'll hand it over to the next guy, who is Sean.
Okay,
Bruce,
thank you.
Do you want to start
And
my
then
time?
yes. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much for your time. I'm Sean Holman. I'm with Simpson Gumpertz and Hager, prime for the design team, and I'm just going to walk you through the technical reasons why we had to exit the building where we did. First and foremost, we were brought on to investigate why this was happening. In order to do that, we had to understand where the piping was routing currently. On this plan, that's the same top-down view that Gary presented, and it shows the line, the existing original sewer line where it's routed within the building. Now, part of that investigation was trying to understand where that pipe was actually routed. So if you see here, we have a very large structure, a very large fine buttresses in this area. And that's going to be key in our investigation as we understand where this pipe is routed through. Because ultimately, during that investigation, we found, and I don't know if you can see the buttresses here, but they flank the building around the perimeter. And our main, the main line that we're worried about is kind of under this zone here. So I've superimposed kind of the foundation plan onto the pipe running plan that was on the previous slide. So the darker lines are the current sewer lines and drain lines running through the building. And you can see that it passes through one of those significant foundations. That crescent-shaped foundation is 5 feet thick, and it's likely that during the original construction, the foundation was actually cast around it. And that actually led to some damage. During our investigation, we found that the pipe was undersized. We found some damaged piping in that it was cracked. There was also some piping that was backsloped. So that's not adequate for draining sewage. We did find roots in the drain at the location of the two trees, and then found that it was routed through the significant foundations that we've highlighted in red. At the tree locations, we did find some root penetration coming through. You can see here tree 1 and 2 beyond the staircase. Those are the subject trees. And we did find root penetration in that line as such, significantly reducing the flow area. So we were left with the task of trying to identify a path to make this work. We worked with the plumbing engineer also on the call to try to route this in a location where we didn't have to core through a 5-foot foundation. So what we did was we overlaid the foundation and just tried to find a path to where we could go. And
30
as you can see
seconds.
here, we did route it through zigged and zagged through a series of the foundations in an effort to avoid that. The proposed pipe layout, it upsized and separated the sanitary and storm drain lines. It avoids the foundation elements and provides proper pipe slopes. Again, there were no alternative alignments that satisfied all the items here. Here's the civil plan identifying the trees as it exits the building and where the pipe conflict occurs. And from here, Dave will take over to chat about the construction implications for the site.
Hey, Charisse.
Yes.
Would you like to start my time and I can carry on?
Okay. Um,
Thank you, by the way.
okay. Okay, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi, morning everybody. Dave Brogan here with the contractor on this project. If you can move to the next slide. So here's a route. I think Sean has explained why this is the only route outside of the building. So it's now my job to construct this safely. And you can see from the red outline, that is our proposed trenching. And the proposed trenching in this area is 4 foot wide by 8 foot deep. So it's a significant trench that will affect these trees. So if you can move to the next slide, please. This is just another view of our trenching and how it's going to affect the trees. We have looked at different ways to excavate this to try and save the trees, but we consulted an arborist, and because of the where we offered to hand dig, they kind of said that it would be impossible to save these trees because of the excavation. And if we did try to hand excavate around these tree roots and preserve the roots, they would likely die in the future. And so that creates a hazard for the church, the public, everybody. So there really is no other way to construct this without, unfortunately, removing those trees. Next slide, please. Yeah, just another view here of how deep and wide our trench will be, so it kind of affects the full planter area there. Next slide. And so just to summarize the presentation on behalf of the whole team, this is a 100-year-old piping within the building and on the outside of the building that we're replacing. It's, Gary mentioned significant health and safety issues within the building itself, and now we're bringing it up to code so he can use the whole of the church in his operations. One thing I just did want to correct on our permit application is that the project team are willing to provide more than one tree, and so we are open to working with the forestry department to provide different sizes of trees, replace the planter area of new landscaping. We're really
30
just
seconds.
we're really just looking to work with the department and replace everything in kind and more. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you. I'll open it up to public comment right now. Josh?
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on a second. This is perfect timing to get a spam call. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I just want to thank the applicants for their diligence in exploring alternatives to removal and looking at even more replacements. I think that's awesome, and I just want to call that out and thank them for that. I was just curious if there's a sense of what type of tree would be used for replacement. Just out of curiosity, maybe it's too early in the process to know that. And then lastly, I just wanted to put in a plug for a program that is being done right now by Friends of the Urban Forest called Trees of Faith. One of my colleagues on the Urban Forestry Council, named Carolyn Scanlon, is running that program, and I'm super supportive of it, and just wanted, since we've got a church in the audience here, just note that Friends of the Urban Forest is doing a program. It's called Trees of Faith, and it's being run by Carolyn Scanlon. That's it.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, you should be able to speak. Can you hear us? it does not appear that you are muted, so maybe turn your volume up or something.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. My name's
That's okay.
Elizabeth Funk, and I live at 2406 Bush Street, 2 doors down from the church. And when I saw the picture of the flooding, I understand exactly what's going on here. That flooding is so serious, and it happens a couple times a year. It floods my garage really severely. So I have a lot of empathy for what the church is going through. And as much as I'm sorry to see the trees go, I can understand why this is absolutely necessary.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to ask the Public Works Department to please deal with that corner drain that always floods.
Noted. Any other public comments? Okay. I have a question. I'll start with Dave or Sean. What kind of pipe material are we looking at for replacement?
I can take that, or you, Sean. It's up to you.
It's fine if you've already, you can go ahead.
It's HDPE on the outside, and then it's PVC on the inside, below grade, which is per
Okay.
code, and then it's cast iron on the right-hand side of that building, which is in the crawl space, which is also to code.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was going to have a follow-up question of how we will ensure that the future replacement tree will not damage the new sewer pipe, but the HDPE solves that issue. Thank you. And then for Allegra, do we know what type of tree we're looking at in terms of replacement? And then I saw from the presentation that it might have been 3 trees instead of 2, and maybe if you can clarify that.
It's just that, are you just saying that you can see a third tree there? Or
Yes.
yes, so that one is not considered significant. So our qualifications for significant trees include any tree that either has a 12-inch trunk diameter, a 15-foot canopy spread, or a 20-foot tall canopy. So that shrub that's in the back there does not meet any of those qualifications. The trunk was not at least 12 inches in diameter, it was not at least 20 feet tall, and it did not have at least a 15-foot canopy spread. The only 2 which met that criteria are the 2 in the front, the plum and the Hollywood juniper, and they met it for different reasons. So and
Okay.
then I will say we do not have a species chosen yet. We will work with the property owner to determine a species that is well suited to the environment. We do have a regulation which states that a tree cannot be planted within 5 feet of a sewer pipe. So we will abide by that requirement for any replacement trees which are cited within the planting area. I will also note that any 24-inch box tree which is planted by the property owner as a replacement will deduct $2,646 from that total assessed in lieu fee that we had of the $8,400. So certainly there's room for plenty of trees along there. We will choose trees which will be appropriate for the size of the space that is being planted and the climate of the area. I know it does get a lot of wind there, and I think that's one of the reasons that purple leaf plum is not doing too well. It's not a very wind tolerant species, or drought tolerant for that matter. So, we'll work with the church to choose a replacement species that is appropriate and does fit all of our criteria.
Thank you. All right. I'll ask for any other public comments at this time.
Give me a second. I have
Okay.
to turn my light back on.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, no hands are raised for this item. I will now close the item for my findings and recommendation to the director. Next item is order number 300-229.
Right. Thank you, officer. Thank you, Allegra.
Allegra, can you present the case?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're looking at order 300-229-595 Oak Street, and I was the inspecting arborist for this case, so I have seen the trees on site. This is to consider the removal of, or the tree on site, the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 595 Oak Street. Staff approved the removal and the public has protested. So this is our subject tree at 595 Oak Street. It's associated with permit 806988. It's tree site 1. It is a ficus tree, and it's a medium stature, between 20 and 35 feet tall. The trunk diameter was 23 inches. The condition rating I gave it was fair to poor. The major issue is that there is girdling infrastructure at the base of the tree. I alluded to that earlier in the presentation, that this is at a very increased risk of failure at the base there, and especially when the concrete is disturbed or any of the girdling infrastructure is disturbed, this can greatly increase the risk of failure. So in this case, I saw indications that there may be decay. We can see these kind of like darkened spots, and you can see that the tree actually has a wider trunk above the base, and that's that reverse taper that we see that makes a tree incredibly unstable. So in this case, the bricks and the concrete are digging into the base of the tree. We can see another view of it here. This is the area that will be impacted by the curb ramp project. So they're going to be installing a curb ramp over here where this pole is, and they're going to be pulling up this entire area. While they're doing that project, they can't just leave this this unrepaired sidewalk here. So they're going to be pulling up this entire area and repaving in this area. When those items are removed, it is very possible that this concrete is helping to stabilize the tree because the roots are likely not sufficient to stabilize the tree at this point. So it does have a very high likelihood of a relatively high likelihood of failure, even just removing the concrete itself. So sometimes we will recommend that a project will remove concrete to see if major roots need to be cut during the project itself. In this case, I would not recommend removing this concrete, the surrounding infrastructure, until the tree has been removed because it does have a high risk of failure. So other things to note about this tree is that the tree structure is also poor, the canopy of the tree. So even if the roots were in good condition, the canopy of the tree and the trunk of the tree, we can see that there was a large failure which occurred in the past, which has created a large cavity. While most of the wood in here is in good condition and does not appear to be in decay, this same structure, which led to the failure of this trunk, is existing throughout the canopy itself. So we have this same tight union with overextended branches. We can even see some buckling of the bark here in this union that's already occurring, and which indicates an increased risk of failure. It may just be some response growth, but it tells us that the union is not stable. And so the tree is trying to fix that. And ficus are not particularly good at fixing those issues. Again, we have the included bark with it overextended limb and a stem that is approximately the same size as the supporting main trunk, which we don't want any side branches to be more than about a third the size of the main trunk. Once it starts to get to be more than that, it begins to be a codominant stem, which is at an increased risk of failure when we have this angle of attachment. So the tree does appraise for approximately $3,400, which equates to 2 replacement trees or 1 replacement tree and remaining in lieu fee of $754. I will note that we will give the project the opportunity to replace some of these empty basins which already exist on site. So our recommendation would be to have 2 replacement trees planted as part of this project, one in the location, the existing location, and the other further down the block. One of these basins, I believe, needs to be paved because it's too close to the other tree. But there is room enough here to plant another tree. And so we would recommend satisfying those in lieu fee requirements by planting 2 trees rather than paying the in lieu fee. And that concludes my portion of the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Do we know if the project sponsor is here? I assume it might be a project manager from the city. Okay. I don't see anything raised.
I
I'll,
don't think they told us if they were coming or not.
okay, sure. I'll open it up to public comments. Josh?
I seem to be the only member of the public here today that's not an applicant. Yeah, so at a Sunshine Ordinance task force meeting, I think it was last year, the now retired urban forester for Public Works, Chris Buck, told the task force that the department does not maintain a deferred replacement list, even though that's required by law, by the Public Works Code, Article 16. So I guess I just have 2 questions. First is just sort of general, whether the department has since created this list, and if so, where would that tree sit on that list? But then it sounded like Allegra said that perhaps when they do the concrete repair project, that the trees will go in at the same time, which I think would be incredible. I'm just asking you, I guess, if that's what I heard, because that'd be awesome. And if not, then is there a deferred replacement list, and where would this tree be on that list?
Okay, thanks, Josh. Any other comments? Okay, Allegra. So can you clarify if we're planting 2 trees or 1? And I believe that one of the locations is going to be in the current location where the ficus is. Is that correct?
Yes. So it's my understanding that because this is part of a DPW curb ramp project, it is funded through that program, and the projects do any amelioration as part of that that program. So it's not replaced by our bureau. It would be replaced by the project itself and maintained as part of that program. So that's my understanding, is that the program is doing that replacement. But I don't know the specifics for this project or what the agreement is for this project. But that was my understanding.
But okay, but the application was to replace that tree.
Yes, well, removal requires replacement.
Removal,
When a
yes.
removal application is submitted, a replacement is required. And so it was my understanding that it would be replaced as part of the project.
Okay. Do you happen to have the project plans? Did they provide that, or anyone provide
They did
that?
not. I looked through all of my correspondence with them and the application, and I could not find the project plans associated with this project. So
Okay. Do you know who the project manager is?
I can get that for you. I don't have it offhand right now, but I can send
Okay.
you that information.
Okay, great. And then sort of the deferred planting list, I believe that exists, right? Is that deferred planting list shareable to the public? Does it get put on the website, or is that just internal right now?
I think that would be a question for the urban forester. I believe we do run, we have started running it. We ran it once. I'm not exactly sure. We were looking into how we would do that because our current system makes it very difficult to look at the one-to-one for that. Yeah, so our system
Oh.
it makes it very difficult to run that report as our database exists. So I'm not exactly sure. It would be a question for the
But there
urban
is a
forester.
deferred planting list.
I don't know that there
Okay.
is one that is updated
Okay.
regularly. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none. I will close the item and forward my findings and recommendations to the director.
Sorry, I
Yep.
do know that we track that information. So we do have like an action that we create in our database for the relocate replacement action. The only thing that's difficult to determine is if that tree has been planted. So we have these actions that we create for every tree that cannot be replaced through our program. We do consider that as to be, we do create a relocate or replacement action. So we have all those actions, but we don't have the plant. We don't know if those have been like closed by a planting. So we have a
Yeah.
list of everything that has been relocated, but we don't know if it's been planted. Or I don't know what we're using to track whether it's been planted. I will also add that this, because this is part of the curb ramp program and it's being applied for through that program, I do not know if this one would qualify for the delayed replacement, because it's being applied for through a separate city agency than the Bureau. So I would have to look into see exactly where the funding is coming from for this particular curb ramp project. The applicant is not the department in that
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. If you can forward me the PM's information, then great. Thanks. The next item, 300230, that's being postponed to another hearing. So in the interest of time, please forward any comments for 880 and 860 McAllister to urbanforestry@sfdpw.org so that we can provide it to the next hearing officer. The last item would be order 300231. Allegra, can you present the case, please?
So for order number 300231, 1511 Lion Street, this is to consider the removal of one significant tree without replacement at 1511 Lion Street. Staff approved the removal and the public has protested. This is the subject tree at 1511 Lion Street, permit 8 associated with permit 805652. This is tree site number 1, Monterey cypress, and the tree is large, is at least 45 feet tall, and has a 45-inch trunk diameter. The condition is fair. There are no major deficiencies associated with this tree that we could see at the time of inspection. The tree is a significant tree. Any sidewalk damage is the responsibility of the property owner because it is not a street tree or a city-owned tree. The roots are causing damage to infrastructure and foundation. And the there's a sewer line that runs down next to the trunk of the tree. This tree has already caused major property damage to 1511 Lion and 1511A Lion Street, including but not limited to flooding in 2021 from the tree roots breaking through the pipes and causing a flood in the 1511A Lion Street unit, resulting in $53,000 in repair costs and lost rent. So we can see here that there is damage which has been marked by the city and is being required to be repaired by the city program. It is being required by our program that the private property owner repair this damage as it's associated with a private tree. We can see on this side that there has been some reconstruction of this area around the roots of the tree. There doesn't appear to be any damage on the private property side at this time. Again, we can see that there is repair that needs to occur here for this damage in the public right-of-way. So one recommendation from the city is that that as inspector will be present during excavation and the sidewalk repair to determine if major root pruning is necessary to achieve the project objectives. So for this particular tree, as I have done in the past, I posted a tree several last year for a tree where we needed to do some major sewer work, basically at the base of the tree. The sewer lateral ran about 2 feet from the base of the tree. It was a small tree, and there weren't expected to be roots on that side of the tree, but there could be roots because of the proximity to the tree. I posted the tree preemptively to make sure that if we needed to remove the tree, we could without disrupting the pedestrian traffic in that area, as we would be taking the entire sidewalk for this work. And we were able to excavate the area and find that there were no roots on that side of the tree. We were able to complete the sewer repair without removing the tree. So in that case, although the tree was approved for removal, the applicant did not realize that removal application because they were able to complete the work without damaging the roots. And so that can be an opportunity here with this project. Our inspector for the area has already committed to being able to supervise the excavation and any required root pruning for the work that is intended to repair the sidewalk. The appraised value that we found for this tree was $19,600. So that would be paid for this project to be put into our Adopt a Tree Fund, Adopt a Tree Fund to fund planting elsewhere in the city. There is also the opportunity to plant a tree in the tree well here. There is currently a stump at this location, and so the applicant could reduce that overall in lieu fee by $2,646 by planting a new tree here, or a larger amount if it was not a 24-inch box tree, but perhaps a 36-inch box or larger. There is enough space here to be able to excavate and put in a large size tree going in and further reduce that total in lieu fee to be paid. That concludes this portion of the presentation.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Okay, Tad.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Should I go ahead and present?
Sure.
Yes, just a moment. I'm bringing you over as a panelist. And once you come over, you'll need to unmute yourself again.
I don't know if should I be on screen and on?
Yes, we can see you and hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the presentation by Allegra and the opportunity. I submitted everything with my application for tree removal permit, so I don't know if I need to repeat that because I feel like that information has already been provided and considered and was reviewed, and a removal was granted, a removal permission was granted by the city. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So, I mean, to quickly summarize it, I mean, I had a certified ISA arborist, Paul McGuire, do an assessment and a recommendation for removal. It's clearly a health and safety hazard. I have small children, a 10 and a 14-year-old daughter. We have a cat. The tree is co-owned by 2706, I want to say 08 and 10 Sutter. They've got small children and pets. The public is at risk. It doesn't fit in the community at all. You can see it just by looking at the placement of the tree, the size of it. It's a monster, quite frankly, and hangs over my entire home. If those limbs were to fall or were to fall into those PG&E lines and power lines, we could be looking at a major catastrophe in this immediate area and surrounding area. In fact, PG&E has come out and been shocked that the tree has not been addressed either by PG&E or by the city or previously. I have also submitted receipts proving up the property damage. I had to do a complete renovation of the lower unit of my property based upon the roots invading and destroying the sewer pipes in that lower unit, and there is no workaround to it. If it's going to happen again, and I'm very concerned about that, about the health and safety of my family, and I have tenants in the lower unit who also have a dog. I also took it upon myself to have a reputable property inspector, Skip Blocker, come out and do a property assessment, and he provided a report which I submitted, and I want to make sure that that's been considered by Allegra. I know you received that, and I want to make sure Jean receives that as well. That was just, I want to say, yesterday.
Yes, that has been forwarded to the hearing officer.
Okay, and Skip's been doing property inspection work
30 seconds.
Yeah, for many, many years, in excess of 30 years. And he recommends removal. I also submitted a before and after drawing, and let me see if I can quickly pull that up.
You have 10 seconds.
Okay, well, I can't quickly grab it, but Jean, what I did was I used AI. I used Google's AI program to draw a rendering of what the area will look like without the tree. That entire corridor is blight, and then for this neighborhood, it just needs to be improved. And this effort will go greatly towards that, including the sidewalk. The public street is completely dysregulated. So the entire community will benefit from the removal and improvement. And most importantly, the health and safety of the community and the public will benefit by the removal of the tree as recommended by the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public comments. Let's see. Hand raised from Jung.
Hi, my name is Jung O'Donnell. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak. And I live next door to the property at 1511 Lyon Street. My family's lived there for 13 years, and we oppose the removal of the tree at 1511 Lyon. It's a grand cypress tree, and I think you can maybe see it from the pictures that Allegra showed, but maybe you can't, but it's so gigantic. It's been there for decades. It's probably twice the height of any the houses or properties or buildings around it. And it's gorgeous. And it's a unique tree. I'm sad that Tad doesn't like it, but it's a unique tree and it's been in the neighborhood forever. It has beautiful birds and animals that live in the tree and fly from one tree to another. My two young daughters who are now teenagers, they've loved it for the decades that they've seen these animals. The neighbors have loved it. I mean, you can't walk down the street and not notice it because it's so different and it's been there forever. The property at 1511 Lyon has lost two other grand trees recently, and I'm so upset at this. Like, this was the final straw for me. I had to say something. Like, if you look at the front of the house at 1511, there was a grand tree on the right side that was so beautiful. And one day it was just cut. It was just cut. And it was probably not as big as the cypress tree, but it was very big and it was cut. And now there's a concrete block there. And the concrete block is not even, I don't even know what it does. It's too small for a car. It's not even a driveway. It just sits there as a concrete block. It's so ugly. And I'm just so upset at him doing this. And then just last year, there was a tree that Allegra was talking about that is a stump in front of 1511. There were 7 trees on the block on our street, on our side of the street, and he had it cut, and it's now a stump. And you can see it was a healthy tree. All these trees seem healthy. I'm not an arborist, but they seem healthy and living and vibrant and unique. And he had it cut into a stump, and you can see now, like, the little branches and leaves trying to come out of this stump. And it's just so sad that he does this to our neighborhood. I don't think it's our responsibility to remove things that other generations can love and keep and take care of. I don't think it's our responsibility because it's not our style of tree or whatever to get rid of them. We can't permanently permanently disrupt this ecosystem and the trees and the beautiful environment that our kids and maybe other kids who want to live here, other families who
30
move here,
seconds.
other families who have kids. So I strongly oppose this removal of the tree and ask you to take in our consideration that I stand with my neighbors to ask to deny the removal of the cypress tree. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh?
Yeah, just to kind of affirm the previous commenter's concerns. Yeah, San Francisco is losing its tree canopy. We have the smallest tree canopy of any major city in the United States, and it is shrinking. The last street tree census we had was in 2017, showed around 124,000 plus some change in trees. And since then, we have net lost more than 300 additional street trees. So we have not, since 2017, net gained a single street tree. We've lost more than 300. And those are just the street trees. Those are the ones that have any kind of legal protection. The trees in our city parks and on private properties, they have no legal protection in our city at all. And so to kind of just, I guess, put a finer point on it, yeah, San Francisco's tree canopy is going in the opposite direction of our climate action plan. And this is about just clean air and carbon sequestration. It is also about all of its ecosystem services, including all the little lives that cannot be here to speak for themselves on this hearing. So I appreciate the previous commenter speaking for those little lives that cannot speak for themselves. I do have a kind of a logistical question. It sounds like there's sort of two things happening here. There's sewer work and then there's sidewalk work. And it sounds like the sewer work was already done without disturbing the roots. And so that's not what this is about. This seems like it's sort of a preemptive permit, and just in case the sidewalk work destabilizes the tree root, it disturbs so many roots that it destabilizes the tree or something like that, and that there's going to be someone on site. I guess I'm just curious that if the sidewalk work is done and the tree is okay, what happens to this permit? Is it conditional? Is it, well, you've got the permit, you can just take it down anyway, even if the sidewalk work was done appropriately? I don't really understand. I don't really understand. So I would appreciate a little clarification on that piece of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Michelle?
Hello, can you hear me now? I've unmuted.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for hearing us today. I appreciate it. Allegra, I also very much appreciate your presentation. As Josh aptly pointed out, let me say I live at 2710 Sutter, and I'll represent our building.
Sorry, Michelle, you're breaking up a little bit.
2708, 27 on our property. I have lived in this row, and sorry about that. I've seen that tree grow and flourish through all those years, and I cannot tell you how much solace and peace this has given me. When we saw the tree removal notice, I personally put up signs and emailed neighbors, and John came right to our defense, as Craig did. A number of neighbors. No one I spoke to so many people in this neighborhood wants this tree removed. We do have a presentation. I'm having some issues with my Zoom right now, so we will be emailing that to you if that is okay, because I would just like to speak instead. The idea that a Monterey cypress is going to fall, quite frankly, with all due respect, I'm not an arborist, but I've done quite a bit of research on these trees, makes no sense. Like I said, I've lived here 21 years. I've had a number of dogs. I have never once seen a branch fall from that tree, even during those crazy storms of January of 2024. As a building, we oppose the tree being removed for a number of reasons. The biggest one being how much beauty and peace and it protects us from pollution. It gives us privacy. Watching the birds come and go. Last November, there was a red-tailed hawk living in that tree and nesting in that tree that I have photos of. These are significant pieces of nature that we should be cherishing. I understand about the sidewalk, and by all means, I do think that should be addressed. But it seems clear from Allegra's presentation that that can be addressed without destabilizing a tree that has been deemed significant by the city of San Francisco because it is over 100-year-old cypress tree. We have also had We've had 3 arborists come out in the last couple of months since this came to our attention, and they all agree that the tree is quite healthy and that those branches that remain over Tad's house can be pruned a bit, but it is a healthy tree, and
30
Monterey
seconds.
do not fall down. They do not lose their branches. I really urge the city to consider how much more this tree brings. And I agree with Josh. This seems to be a preemptive tactic to remove yet another tree. As Young pointed out, a number of trees have already been removed. While the work for the sewer has already been abated, there's clearly a workaround to save a 100-year-old tree. And I think we owe it to the city and to this neighborhood and to that tree to do that very thing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Craig.
I will forward our email slides to you. Thank you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you turn your volume up a little bit, maybe?
Maybe I just speak a little bit louder. I'm not too sure. It's a new
Okay.
computer.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
A little bit louder then. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So I am a neighbor just down around the corner from that tree. I live on Sutter Street and have seen it since 1996 when I moved into the neighborhood, and I've loved it. I joined the bandwagon when I heard that it was going to be cut down. I have no idea why someone would want to do that. I agree with everything that people have been saying. I'm a tree person. I really love trees. I believe that we need more, and yes, it's pretty sad that we have fewer trees. And as far as the TAD's presentation, there was so much hyperbole there. I could not believe it. It was staggering to me that he believes that it sounds like that tree is some kind of ticking time bomb, literally from World War II that was just found So anyway, I just hope that you will consider the neighborhood, and the tree is extremely healthy and is a basically benefit to the neighborhood that we see. Tad, I have not seen. That was the first time that I've seen him. I lived in the neighborhood for a while. I don't think I've ever seen him walking around or anything like that, saying hi. So, what can I say? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Allegra had a couple questions. Do we know how the $53,000 was substantiated? What was the impetus of the tree removal? And if you're able to answer Josh's questions.
I was not the inspecting arborist for this location. I believe the $53,000 was submitted by the applicant in terms of the amount of damage, and that's what the applicant stated during their testimony. So I think that was calculated by the applicant. So that I think that's where that amount came from. But I did not create that portion of the presentation. Brian Ong was the inspecting arborist, and he is the one who made the ultimate decision for
Okay,
the project.
okay. And then the sidewalk repair, doesn't look like there's a lot of uplift, it's just some crack damage over there.
Yeah, so when I did my removal, my removal permit that I issued for the tree that was having the sewer damage, and we were doing the sewer repair. In the hearing decision, we stated that if major tree roots, which would require the removal of the tree, were to be found during the project, then we would approve removal for the tree, but otherwise the tree would remain and the permit would not be realized. The permit would not be approved for removal. So I think that's how we handled that when I did that with the program, with the permit from a previous hearing. And depending on your decision, that may be a possibility here. If that is the reason for approval for removal, is that we're concerned about the stability of the tree following the required sidewalk repair.
Would will we need to expand the tree well here?
There is room for expansion of the tree well. It is a fairly wide sidewalk. Here, let me share my screen so that we can view that. Sorry. Let's see. So yeah, so as you can see, there is room to expand the tree well. Let me see if there's a better picture further down. Yes, here. So we require 6-foot path of travel. And here we do have room that would be considered probably under sidewalk landscaping. We may be able to waive the sidewalk landscaping requirement because it's associated with a tree. When we do street trees, we don't require sidewalk landscaping. When we expand the basin, since it's a private tree, we may require that expansion of the basin to be through a sidewalk landscape permit. But certainly there is room to expand here. We still would retain a 6-foot path of travel along here. These 2 flags of concrete are typically about 6 feet, and then we could expand the basin up to 3 feet into the public right of way there. So it is possible. I know that there was a comment from the supervisor's office that was possibly recommended that they were looking into landmarking the tree. When trees are landmarked, they do have special considerations, and there is funding from the city to help maintain trees that are landmarked. So, I know that the property owner had mentioned that it is a big expense to be maintaining the tree because it is all on the private property. Once a tree is landmarked, there is funding from the Department of Public Works that goes in towards supporting certain maintenance needs for trees, including pruning or possibly this basin expansion that may be required. So that may be another avenue to explore. I know that the supervisor's office had been looking into that as well.
Do we know where they are with that process?
No, it's a much longer process, and it does need to be the property owner does need to be on board. So it would not be something that but it may be an avenue that they may want to, if the tree is ultimately not approved for removal, that might be another avenue to help support maintenance of this tree. Anyways.
Would that maintenance fund pay for any of damages to the private property?
I'm not I'm not sure. I know that for our, in terms of like sewer damage and that sort of thing, we do not pay out even for city-owned street trees. We do not pay out damages for sewer repair and that sort of thing. We do if there has been multiple instances of sewer repair that have been attempted to be abated. So, you know, in the source of like in the case of like a sewer lateral, if the sewer lateral has been replaced and the tree still is causing issues, then we would be more likely to consider removal at that time because there has been an attempt to repair it and that hasn't solved the issue. So in this case, it sounds like the sewer repair occurred once. So then, you know, if it were to happen again, then that may be a more likely consideration. But it really depends on a case by case basis, the amount of damage, what the evidence is that the tree is causing that damage, et cetera. So.
Okay.
But even in cases where the city does own the tree, for street trees, we typically do not pay out for sewer damages.
Okay. And then kind of going back to the impetus of the whole application, it was mainly to preempt a possible removal if the sidewalk repair might destabilize the tree. Is that correct?
That was my understanding. Brian was the deciding arborist for this approval.
Okay.
So that was what I understood to be his.
Okay. Got it. Tad, quick question. Do you have any supporting documents for the 53,000 that you spent?
Yeah, I provided those with my application, and the impetus for the removal is much more that's been presented. I mean, I think you're missing the point here. The sidewalk is completely destroyed. Those pictures do not depict what is going on. It is a tripping hazard to the moon and back. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law 30 years. I'm surprised that there's been no trip and fall accidents as of yet. The tree does not fit this neighborhood whatsoever. Look at it. I have submitted all of the receipts I had to relocate tenants because the roots from that tree ate into the pipes and flooded the entire unit, and it's going to happen again. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Okay, thank you. Allegra, do you have a copy of those receipts or documents that Tad mentioned?
I believe they're in the record for
I
the
provided them.
application. Yeah, they would be in the record for the application.
They came with the permit application.
Okay, can you forward those again to me, Allegra?
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, any other public comments, only for those who have not spoken? Okay. Seeing no other hands raised, I will now close the item and forward my findings and recommendation to the director.
What is the timing for the findings, recommendations, and the decision from the director
It's about 2 weeks.
for the total process?
Total process, I'm not too sure on that.
So 2
I
weeks for
provide
you.
mines within about 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, no other hearing agenda items. This hearing is now closed. Thank you everyone for your time. Enjoy your day.
I think it looks like it's